name's Alyssa Glenn, and welcome to my core advocacy portfolio. So I'll be highlighting my understanding of health promotion, advocacy, and nursing, and how that's evolved through this course and through my exploration of food insecurity as a public health issue. So I have my introductory statement here. I have some photos. Some of them are kind of I Spy, but I am in there. And then I have a brief synopsis of what the portfolio is about, and then also an explanation of how I align my progression with different stages of food growth, just to use it as a visual way of tying it with food insecurity in a way. So let's begin with the values and identity section, which explores where my interest in nursing began. Ultimately, it stemmed from a place where I felt health promotion and disease prevention were passions of mine. One of my artifacts is actually from my undergraduate degree in nutrition, and it discusses my outlook on preventing chronic disease through healthier lifestyle choices. And that was from a personal perspective at that time. But this background in nutrition is what led me to choose food insecurity as my topic, because adequate nutrition is fundamental to good health. And that's something I touch on in this social issue selection artifact. But overall, I realize my values remain the same, which is touched on in healthcare as a human right. So my values remained consistent, but I recognize that encouraging healthy choices alone is not enough. I also gained a broader perspective of looking at the importance of nutrition and the impact of food insecurity. So while I had this emphasis on the individual level initially, I now have a better appreciation of it from a community and population perspective. So moving on to my social issue research. This section highlights my understanding of food insecurity and how it developed by reviewing evidence-based interventions in other states. Initially, I believed food insecurity was an issue of individual circumstances, but through my research, I gained a better understanding of its complexities and its ties with poverty, transportation, housing costs, food deserts, and other social determinants of health. I also learned the significant health consequences, such as chronic disease, poor mental health outcomes, and increased healthcare utilization. And then this improved my, this reinforced that improving health requires understanding underlying aspects of health and improving social and systemic structures rather than focusing on individual behaviors. So for my artifacts, I have social issue, the first social issue paper, and then my social issue brief, because I feel like this was my beginning research development, and then this was my narrowed down focus after I have acquired all my information. But overall, just really learned about how social determinants of health impacts food insecurity there. As for systems and policy analysis, I explored how healthcare systems, government agencies, public policies, and community organizations all contribute to addressing food insecurity. So programs like SNAP, WIC, and other nutrition assistance programs play a large part in improving access to food, but they also only respond to food insecurity after it already occurs rather than preventing it altogether. So the evidence-based interventions that I researched included like produce prescription programs and mobile markets, which demonstrate how collaborations between healthcare organizations, policymakers, and community partners can be more sustainable and preventive solutions rather than treating the consequences of food insecurity. And then overall, this area of development helped me appreciate how connected healthcare and public policy are, and how meaningful change often requires change at the systems level. So here, this artifact touches on the specific programs and policies, as does this one, but this one really touches on the fact that collaborative efforts and system level changes are needed to address food insecurity. So moving on to advocacy. This section is my greatest area of personal growth, because before this, I primarily thought of advocacy as like educating patients and speaking on their behalf. But through policy recommendations, creating educational materials, and contacting a local policymaker, I learned that advocacy also means influencing the systems that shape the overall health of communities. Although my email did not receive a response, I still found it valuable to learn that advocacy efforts require persistence, collaboration, and building rapport with stakeholders while also communicating evidence effectively. It also shows that meaningful change often occurs gradually through continued engagement rather than one outreach effort. So here I have my infographic, which was kind of the foundation for my planning, my advocacy outreach, my email, and then this is an audio file, which doesn't show very well here, but my reflection audio file. And then we'll go to my growth and impact. So this section discusses how this project has transformed my understanding of my future role as a nurse. While bedside care is very important, I now also have a greater appreciation of my responsibilities beyond direct patient care. Since nurses have a position that allows them to identify social determinants of health and advocate for patient needs, they also have the opportunity and responsibility to influence change at all levels. So I feel my portfolio clearly demonstrates a progression in my knowledge and professional identity. I began believing that prevention was primarily achieved through education and healthy lifestyle choices, but I'm leaving with an understanding that it requires addressing social and structural conditions that influence health. And as I begin my nursing career, I will not only provide compassionate clinical care, but will also engage in evidence-based advocacy efforts to improve health outcomes and provide more equitable care. So thank you for taking time to review my portfolio. Have a great day.